said, just eat the pen. Don't eat the whole thing. Oh, you got it. Oh, this is normal. Yeah, he said, because I don't, I'm Hey, God! When you come up, bring an umbrella. I need an umbrella. Just one. When you come up. When you listen, when I'm listening to Joe Rogan or something like that, they also, you know what, keep watching the clip. When they start talking, and he goes, if you take one of those, you start talking in mouth. Well, you're not supposed to, like I said, you're supposed to, a lot of them will tell you. Hopefully, you understand. All day. Yeah. There's a lot of them. I'm like, so you're all right? I'm like, yeah. So they'll tell you the story. Just the head of the gummy bear. Because if they give it an hour, the people will have, that happened to us with muffins, vegan muffins. When I was in the Marine Corps, oh man, we went to a raid and this guy put up and sold us mushrooms. We're like, yeah, you can do it because they don't test for mushrooms. I don't know. Well, when I was in the Marine Corps, they were hard to get. You know, they weren't left some odd years. But they didn't test them. I heard they would test them like a hair product. But they didn't test them for alcohol. No idea what I was told by the drug, one of my best friends was a SACO officer. And he does, his job isn't to do that, but it's like a secondary, like he worked with us and we go, oh, we're going to do drug tests. So he used to tell us, he goes, dude, we're doing a drug test. He goes, because he would tell, well, he'd tell like a handful of us, he goes, dude, don't turn it around because we're going to do a drug test and do this test at a lunch. And they always do it in the morning. What they do is they do it right after PT. So you all go PT, then everybody comes back to the barracks and they put you all in the common room. Nobody can leave until you fix. And you can't go to the barracks, so they don't want you. But some people, what they would do is, what they would do is they would go to your room. They used to let you go back to your room and then before you go to work, you go come down. What they do is sit and drink your water to where they would piss, you're just pissing on the water. But then they're it's expensive. The problem is so one of the things that'll pop you on a piss test too. No urine. Like if you're just pissing water, they would make you re-piss. But it's problematic. Anyways, it's random. It's not you're rolling the dice anyways. When they piss test you, they only test like 1 or 2 out of each box. So and there's like 12 in the box. Yeah. So you could essentially get away with it by just that. Yeah. But what they do is they say it's random, but a lot of times when they do, they want to catch someone, so they know that a group of people smoke weed. Yeah. So they flag theirs. So they're not just piss testing for fun. It's a big deal. I mean, if you tested a company, you're talking 200 Marines. You know what I mean? Not working, just sitting around waiting to do that. That's a big deal.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
Interesting. Okay. Where's this coming from? Oh, stop. Okay.
It's just like a temporary marker, so we just need a stone like yeah. Yes, I can keep it on. Yeah,
And my grandmother is at someone I was in the day. I turned out in a peanut and Stephen Harris is and my mother's one of the two.
right under the canopy.
Yes, you did. We even have the cancer checked in the file.
And I found something in my house. Like the marble. Yeah, that's the one that I really like.
Right under
With the names. I thought they had the names of them.
Yes, I do. So that's what comes to my head.
Your grandmother was buried here in 2012?
Oh, is it 12? No, 14. We always thought, no, it says it.
It says 12.
And that is definitely it. I felt that. Can they come underneath that? I mean, so we got Levine's and Touch Bean did the service.
You had to.
Okay.
I just don't remember.
I don't remember. How long have you been? 25 years.
Scott Clark moved here 25 years ago.
Yeah, you just said it. Just watch the cable.
I'm in Boston.
You're back.
Which is, yeah, around the same for me.
Oh,
Yeah, we live on Christmas Hill. We know exactly what happens. And we've been there, we've been in that house for 17 years.
I'd like to have you guys to stand up for a second. So, this one, we need to got some issues. During these residents, part of the here and look at the help. George wrote a minor kind of minor copy of sharing why, how, restoration, but she did good work. You did pretty much something. These ribbons. So I'm going to ask you to repeat after me. Or look up that enough. Diane. Let's read that. Who's a religious judge? Folks, you can come closer. I promise your family and brother doesn't live beyond the gates.
proclaim no source of life. It's to you that we turn now and try to understand this thing called life. We grope for answers as our heart is broken. But our job this day is not just merely to shed tears, but to smile from behind those veiled tears as we remember how beautiful and rich sojourn in the garden of this earthly realm. Audrey's life, 80 years ago. Got it? 80 years of it has been the source of strength for all of you here. You see, you built your life on it. You saw her as a role model, as one that you could draw confidence from, who has been the center of so much in your world. Indeed, her passing leaves a void in your hearts and souls that time can never fill. Birth is a beginning and death is a destination. And life is a journey, a going, a growing from stage to stage, from maturity, from childhood to maturity, and youth to age, from innocent to awareness, and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to desertion, and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength, or strength to weakness, and often back again, from health to sickness, and we pray back to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to fear, to love, to joy to gratitude, to pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith. From defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death is a destination. But life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage, made stage by stage, from birth to death to life everlasting. The 23rd Psalm is a psalm of peace for a woman that's at peace. There's a sense of bashert, of things that are meant to be. The fact that we were able to find this spot next to her parents, which according to the map shouldn't exist. But it does. It's a bashert, it's meant to be. And it's a perfect tribute to the type of woman that she was. That things should fall into place for her. It's a way of saying gratitude. As she walks through the valley of the shadow of death, God walks with her, the same way that you are all together at this point to share those sense of connection. But remember, a valley is defined because of two peaks. There was one that we had Audrey at our side, and there's one that we will ascend again with Audrey in our hearts. Do not forget that. Right now, there is a sense of loss, there's a sense of grief, but know that there will be a time when it becomes a dull ache, and you can lift the l'chaim and celebrate life with her. So I'm going to invite you to trust your memories as we recite the 23rd Psalm together in English in a very formal way. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me by still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou wilt prepare us a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely in goodness shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Okay, what did I do?
No, it's good. It's
Go
fun.
ahead.
It's fun.
You can
Okay,
share.
I can share. So my mother always said that prayer, but not in the respectful way. She would say it around my grandfather. She would just end it differently. I'll leave it at that.
I'm glad I made you laugh.
And my mother always made us laugh every time she would say that. So I'll leave it at that.
That's probably good.
That's perfect.
There we go.
I won't do it in English tonight at Shippup. But you'll chuckle from behind. Psalm 121. Did she laugh at this one?
No.
Okay. Esayinai Eleharim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri. Ezri Me'im Adonai Oseh Shemayim Va'aretz. Al Yikan Lamot B'Raglecha. Al Yanom Shomrecha. Hine Lo Yanum V'Lo Ishan Shomed Yisrael. Adonai Shomrecha. Adonai Tzilkad Al Yad Yeminecha. Yomam HaShemesh Lo Yekikava Yareach B'Layla. Adonai Yishmorcha Mikol Ra Yishmor Et Nafshecha. Adonai Yishmor Su'etka U'V'Wecha Me'etav Yad Olam. I lift up my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. And God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your coming and your going, as God protects your soul for now and forever. Laughter is the appropriate thing right now.
And my mother would.
Well, because it reminds you of that how she lived. You see, in last week's Torah portion, we read this beautiful phrase that says, "Build me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them." Indeed, tears that come from sadness and tears that come from joy are rooted in the sense of love. So at an opportunity, it is not disrespectful to smile and to laugh and to remember. Audrey, as you all know, is a very caring person. By vocation, Mama was a mother, a grandmother, a relative, a friend, a person always in relationship, and a master social worker. She gave of herself to help others, whether it was through support for people in trouble, suffering addiction, whether it was from working with others in need, or just sharing life with you. That was the most important part of living. The psalmist says that we bring our life to an end like a tale is told. And this is where I turn to you, to let you have the opportunity to tell the story of Audrey's life. So, if you wish, I invite you to step up to do so.
I wasn't sure I was going to do it. Oh, dude, I'm going to try.
Go for it.
I'm going to try.
I'm going to invite you to come up here so the mic picks you up on the camera. So they will be doing
I'm going to try.
You got it.
I got it.
We're all wearing them there right
For my brother and sister and I, Muma is a newer term of endearment. She was always mommy to me, maybe Ma for Maddie, or Mom to Stephen. Once Andrew was born, however, he became Muma. He knighted her with that title, and that was that. Probably much the same way as our grandmother was Blibby and our grandfather was Poppy when Maddie was old enough to talk. Our mother was always the most hard-working person I knew. Imagine being 32, divorced, with 3 kids, and no college degree since she dropped out of NYU to marry our father. NYU! She went back to school while working and raising 3 kids on her own. Luckily, her parents were there to help with us, as long as they could and as much as they could. Our grandmother was a force of nature, whom we all respected and cherished and maybe secretly feared a little bit. Recently, my mom and I would reflect on that time. We would marvel and wonder, how the hell did she do it all? How did we make it? I would always say, we just did. That's what you do. You just do. As our grandmother was quoted at the end of her time with us, don't just try, do. And she really meant it. And we did. As I would recently reminisce with my mom, I had some vague memories, and she had some vague memories. How did I get to school in the mornings?
What did I do after school until she got home? How did we make it all work? Maddie and Stephen might have some memories to fill in the blanks. We all have our own memories. Unfortunately for me, my memory is not so great. It's not that my memories aren't great, it's just that my memory is not great. But we all enjoy sitting around in an all too infrequent get-together and piecing it all together. Those are my favorite times now. The one thing I will always know and always remember is that my mom loved us dearly. We were her most prized possessions and accomplishments. And our children were the icing on the best cake ever made. I have to admit that being the youngest of my mom's children meant that my kids had missed the best of my mom's grandmothering years. And she poured her heart and soul into Andrew and Michelle, and I say this with complete and utter love in my heart for her and for them. And they have given back to her all the love that she gave to them. I truly believe that Mommy knew just how much her children loved and loved her, and I truly know she loved us all uniquely and deeply, all of the children and all of her beloved grandchildren.
Beautiful. After you.
Maddie. No. I get to.
You want to bring it home? You get to bring it home.
No, I don't really bring it home very well, but no, it's good.
I wrote, because otherwise I would just kind of spill it all out. We all kind of knew at some point we'd be standing here, and I always thought I'd be the one that would be speechless, but she would say I'd never shut up. Everyone has a person. Momo was my person. My whole life she was always there. Everyone's been asking how I'm doing and commenting on how close we were. And honestly, I'm okay. I can't read my phone screen, but I'm okay. She was exhausted. Everything hurt. She couldn't sleep. She really couldn't eat. And even when it was almost impossible to move, she'd talk to Caroline on the phone. She'd go, "I walk like Herman Munster." She'd try to make a joke out of all of it. In many ways, I felt like we were on borrowed time ever since she had a heart attack and started feeling in pain. But she did put a huge front on for all of us, perhaps my mom the most. And even though, we talked all the time, I could hear it in her voice. She was really tired. As Eileen said, my mama had the biggest heart of all of us. She gave, and she gave, and she gave to every one of us. And after giving everything she had, she somehow found a way to just give a little bit more. And I'm really lucky that all that care and compassion kind of got bubbled up right here a little bit. She and I had such an incredible relationship that it almost feels unfair to share it with all of you. When I was little, she'd always be there when I'd wake up with a big smile and an even bigger hug. As I grew up, she attended every one of my moving up ceremonies, graduation days, and school grandparents' days. And when I was older, she'd read me Harry Potter every single night. And just when she thought I fell asleep, I'd wake back up and beg her to read just a few more pages. My sister would see Mama walk by her room, and every night come read to me. And as soon as she mentioned it, Mama started going to her room first. And then she would stay later each night to come read to me when she was done. And when I asked Michelle the other night what they did, because that was between her and Muma, she let me know that Muma had a special song just for her. And then she would constantly retell the famous Stephen stories, such as the time he got his arm stuck in a pool table return, and then snuck out of the house to go down a gigantic slide at the school playground where they all thought he'd fall off. As I continued to grow, our relationship stayed the same, no matter how many little cousins joined the party. Mitch, Kiki, Josh, Haley, Justin. She had such a unique and incredible relationship with each of you, in her own special way. As I said, somehow she was able to just keep on giving more than we really even knew. I always told Muma everything first. When Carly and I started dating, I'm pretty sure I told her first. And when it was time to go ring shopping, she knew before my parents and my sister. She so badly wanted to be at our wedding, and we both were really so lucky that she knows we're getting married next year. She saw the venue, she tasted the food. She even got to see photos of her great grandpuppy who's coming home tomorrow. I said to Michelle, Wilma passed knowing everything was okay. Not only could she finally turn off MSNBC, but she also knew that each one of her children and grandchildren were healthy and strong. Mitch is crushing it in college as an honor student. Kiki's not only an incredible artist, which she probably knows came from both Luna and Bobby. Joshy's a basketball star, and Haley and Justin are both doing so wonderfully. And not only that, you guys know that she always loves seeing and watching your pictures of you guys playing lacrosse and basketball, or baseball. And of course, for my sister, she is not only excelling professionally, but she has become such a strong young woman. We all know where that really comes from. And for me, I'm so lucky that I got to say goodbye knowing that she saw me grow up, which is really what she wanted. I never really got to say goodbye, but none of us did. There's never really goodbye when it comes to death, just really a temporary farewell. We're all so thankful you're at peace and no longer hurting, but we all just miss you so damn much. As Michelle said to me, we just weren't done with you yet.
I'll take up one, not two. Being the oldest, I had the privilege of knowing my mother and our Bobby and Poppy the longest. I have memories flooding through my mind that I shared only with my mother, and even my brother Stephen, who's 5 years younger, and my sister Eileen, who's 7, don't even know them all. While we often speak of my Bobby as an elegant and strikingly beautiful force of nature, and she was, I would be remiss if I didn't speak of Poppy, my mother's dad. It is often said we are a cross between our parents, and so too is my mother. Poppy was the kindest, most gentle, most adoring father, bar none, second only by my grandmother's brother, our beloved Uncle Bernie, and that is who my mother became. She grew up a treasured and adored only child at Castle Village in Manhattan, in an apartment overlooking the George Washington Bridge. She would often recount to me how she and her daddy would walk to school each morning and how they would go on adventures each Saturday so that Bobby could sleep late, walking through the cloisters in Fort Tryon Park, scaling the Palisades Trail down to the Hudson, and walking hand in hand down Fifth Avenue. My mother always drew comfort and strength from her memories of her childhood walks with her daddy, and would share them with me so frequently and that the images so vivid in my head, as if I were there. And in fact, I was the one who had the opportunity to do those things, both with our Bobby and Poppy and then with Mom, when we were able to go back to New York and we could go to the Castle Village and just drive around and she could see, and she was so happy when we would do that. And in October, I had the opportunity to take her to a doctor's appointment. She wanted to see if somebody could help with her hair. And we went to a doctor's appointment, and then we drove around, and then we drove to Michelle's apartment, and she was so very happy to have gotten to New York just one more time. It is undoubtedly from her daddy that my mother, too, became such a kind and gentle person, with, from her mother, a will of iron that I have to admit wasn't always visible to me on the surface. My mother was a champion, and she was an advocate, and not just for us, but for the underdog. That was who my mother was. She became a social worker, not to counsel just individuals, but truly for the greater good. After serving as an executive director of the Volunteer Center of Albany, she went on to be the executive director of the Homeless and Travelers Aid Society, or something to that effect, and ultimately the next step. She cared for everyone from the homeless to everyone she met with the same degree of love, and she had an ability to care for people wholly and unconditionally and without any judgment. And that is she was just extraordinary in that regard. She never looked down at anyone and felt she was lucky to be walking in their shoes. And so too did she pass that, I hope, a little bit to us, but not nearly as much as she was extraordinary. In fact, my mother, while putting herself through school and raising 3 children and working full time, didn't just go to school and do all of that. She also mentored other people. She worked as a mediator for the housing department so that she would mediate tenant disputes in the projects at Albany at night. She would work as a literacy volunteer. And then I learned today she also did something called Compeer, where she was a mentor to people who were underprivileged or underserved and had, perhaps mental illness. And that was who my mother was. That is she was there for us, but she was there for everybody she could help. And I could go on and on trying to paint a picture of my mother, trying to capture the memories and the thoughts flooding through my heart and my mind. But my mommy, our Muma, and our mommy was hands down, far and away, the best among us. She was absolutely the best. And I, too, am a cross between my parents, not nearly as good as my mom. And I learned from my mother how to care for my others and have spent my whole life caring for my family, my siblings while growing up, my grandfather, Poppy with Alzheimer's, my booby, and then my mom. And I only wish I could have done more. But I did so with love. I only wish I had perhaps done it with a little bit more of my mother's endless grace and patience. But rest in peace, my mommy. Next to Booby and Poppy, I think, as the rabbi said, it's a miracle that we are standing here because my mother didn't have a plot, and I think Booby willed it to be, and it is meant to be, and we are fortunate to be here together. And Mom, I'll take care of it from here. I'll try to do it with your compassion and your gentle soul, but I'll promise I'll do my best, and I love you.
Of course, I don't have anything written. I won't say it with such grace. But of course, I'll say something. I hated the term Muma. I'm sorry. And I told her that. She's my mom. The best hugger, kisser, best person to console you. And of course, she had a little bit of a sense of humor. Going to Sunday school, I think we were going bowling and had a bunch of guys in the car. And of course, before we got out, boys, don't forget your balls. There's another story which I can't get into, but according to me, I was upset because the girl said I needed a nose job, but she went through all the other kind of jobs that a young man could get. So it was an interesting household to live in. But I loved her dearly, and I know she loved me because I was her favorite. And living with my mom, 2 sisters, and then my grandmother, I was the best one. So she will be missed forever and ever. I loved her, and she loved all of her kids, all of her grandchildren, and we will love her forever.
Tonight at Shiva, and throughout the week, you'll have the opportunity to share more stories. You to tell these tales over and over again. O God of life, Amid the ceaseless tides of change which sweep away the generations, your love remains to comfort us and give us hope. Around us are life and death, decay and renewal, and the flowing rhythm that all things obey. Our life is a dance to a song we cannot hear. Its melody courses through us for just a little while, then it seems to be gone. Where is that melody? Where does it go? The darkness of night, return to you, God, the source of life, who has the answers to all mysteries. I invite you to please rise. El Malay Rachamim, Shochim Beromin, Amasei Nechon, Nechona Tachat Kafei Shkina, In Kerushim Utehorim Kizohara Rakiya, Et Mishmat, Gittel, Bat Gabriel Babenko, Halacha Olamah, Al Harachamim Yesterea, Beseter Kerafab Olamin, Betzur Betzurcha Chayim Et Mishmata, Adonai Hu Nacharaka, Ruach Bashalom, Al Mishkavav, and Amen. Compassionate God, eternal spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence. To Audrey, who has entered eternity. The God of mercy, let her find refuge forever in the shadow of your wings. Let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life with you, God, are her inheritance. And may she rest in peace, as we all say. Amen. Kaddish is a gift. It's an opportunity to cry out with life. It's the opportunity when our heart is broken to say thank you for giving us a beautiful life. You love so much, and you want this ache so. But there's something more enduring. She's never gone as long as we remember. So trust those memories. Share those stories. Laugh, rejoice, and in the dark of night, hear her voice challenging you to live up to your fullest divine potential. So in gratitude, let's say these words. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabal. Yalman divrach kirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayachon v'yomachon v'chayet kol beit Yisrael. V'agalav zman kariv yimru amen. Yehei shemei rabba mevarach le'olam omei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudishah v'yitu. Le'elam min kol v'yachata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechmata. Damiram v'yamam v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mamah. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May the source of peace and peace to you who mourn, and comfort to all who agree. Amen. The last thing for us to do is probably the most painful. She doesn't belong in this world anymore. It is a mitzvah to hasten her journey by placing her on her casket. But burying is such a final act. But Andrew, you said it best. You didn't have the opportunity to say goodbye. So view this as a chance to tuck her in one last time, to give her a spiritual hug. Wish her much love as she goes on her journey. There are 2 shovels, 2 sides, and careful of the ice. And I invite you to step forward and do so.
Please watch your stuff like right there.
Thank you.
Go your way, for God has called you. Leka Adonai Yimach. Go your way, may God be with you. May your righteousness go before you, and the glory of God receive you. I invite you to turn to each other and speak these words to each other in here. May God console you. Forevermore. In Zion and Jerusalem. In the coming of the coming thing, may God find strength and comfort as you go on through life in the name of the Trinity and universal grace. Amen.
Folks, this does conclude our service, and I'd like to thank Rabbi Matt Cutler for his service, and for those of you who spoke so beautifully, very nice. This does conclude our gathering here.